This is Michael Popok, and by the looks of things, it's time for Legal AF After Dark. Fani Willis, thank God, is still the prosecutor of Donald Trump and others down in Georgia. She's the Fulton County District Attorney. She survived her motion to disqualify attempt by Donald Trump. She's thriving. She wants an August trial, and there's a whole bunch of hearings coming up this week where other co-conspirators, along with Donald Trump, try to get more of the indictment dismissed. Will they prevail? What will Judge McAfee do? And when is this case going to be set for trial? Let's talk about it with my colleague, a former prosecutor, Karen Friedman Agnifilo on Legal AF. Take a listen. Georgia prosecutors. Let's talk with my favorite former prosecutor. So I'll do it from Fani survived and has decided, I think, to get back into the saddle of this case and get this case ready for a trial on a date that has not yet been set. Got a whole bunch of motion practice by some of the nuttier, less hinged of the co-conspirators with Donald Trump, like the guy that's listed here, and some other motion practice that's going on. Just to remind everybody, the judge denied the motion to disqualify Fani Willis as long as Fani Willis fired Nathan Wade. She had two choices. That was the Sophie's choice, the Fani's choice. She either fired Nathan Wade or she fired herself and the entire Fulton County DA's office from trying the case. And she said, I'll take the first one, please. And she fired Nathan Wade, or she accepted his resignation, whatever it was. And then that cleared the conflict for the judge and allowed her to continue. He certified the question for appeal. The Trumpers are taking the appeal up to the first intermediary appellate court that sits over Fulton County, which I'm not sure exactly which one that is, before it gets to the Georgia Supremes. But he made it clear, I'm not staying the case. I'm not staying the case. There's plenty of things to do. We'll continue to prepare the case. You can go figure out whether the prosecutor comes or goes, or who is the prosecutor. I'm not dismissing the indictment. I already dismissed 6 counts of the indictment, but I'm not, the heart of the indictment is present. She now has, I want to throw this over to you now. She now has a choice. I want to hear your view as a former prosecutor. When he dismissed the 6 counts, he gave her another choice. He said, I'll give you a choice. You can either re-indict, you can go for a superseding indictment or whatever the version of that is in Georgia, or amended indictment, whatever they have there. And you can try to save and salvage your standalone count against Donald Trump related to election interference and that quote unquote perfect phone call that he made with Mark Meadows to Brad Raffensperger and Gene Sperling to try to find 11,758 votes. Or you can just use it and leave it as an overt act as part of your criminal conspiracy, which is already at the heart, the engine of the entire indictment. Or you can take an appeal and take me up on appeal and go do that world for the next 6 months or a year. Given the fact she wants to, she's announced she wants to start the trial as early as this summer. What do you think she does next with the counts that she lost by way of the order that came out a few days before the motion to disqualify order came out?
I think she hedges a little bit. I think she's going to see, is there a chance that this case goes to trial? She says she's ready. She's ready to go. She's trying to push it. But you know, we all know there's 14 defendants left. One of them is Donald Trump. So many motions going on and on. She also has an election coming up. So does Judge McAfee in November. And I think she pushes the case to try to go. But she also, if it looks like it's not going to go and it's going to take a lot longer for whatever reason, then I think she might appeal it. But I say she goes and she just loses the various counts. I don't know that that's going to allow her to delay it. I mean, at a certain point, I think you really have to get this case going. So that's what I think she's going to do. I think she's going to prepare an appeal. She's going to be ready for the appeal. And she's also going to be ready to cut those few charges out and go forward from there. Personally, that's what I think she will do. But, you know, we'll see. We also think that Trump is going to appeal, right? That's the other thing. He is going to appeal the disqualification issue potentially. And, you know, look, Judge McAfee is going to continue with motion practice and continue with the case while the courts decide whether or not they're going to take that up. And so I think if that's going to happen and he's going to delay things by appealing that, then she probably would also appeal her ruling on the other one. But I think she's going to push it, and try to go with a few, even if it's less charges, she's going to try to get more pleas out of people. And I think that's what she's going to try to do. I mean, look, we drop this Legal AF every Wednesday. We're live every Wednesday night, and that's that tonight's no different. And tomorrow, though, there's a hearing. Right, there's going to be a hearing that will be televised, that I'm sure we'll all watch together, and we'll comment on, and we'll broadcast here on the MeidasTouch network. And it'll, because all the Judge McAfee court proceedings, like all the court proceedings in Georgia, they're all broadcast and on TV. And it's going to be oral arguments on a number of motions that Trump and one of his co-defendants, David Schaefer, made. And so that'll be very interesting, right? Trump argued that the criminal solicitation counts should be demurred for failing to allege the oath of office or the portion of the oath of office that they solicited Georgia officials to violate, and also claims that the prosecution is attempting to violate First Amendment rights and that the statutes are unconstitutional as applied. Those are Trump's three motions. Schaefer, the co-defendant, who's the former head of the Georgia GOP, is the former chair, a big-time prominent Georgia politician, his motion to dismiss all charges against him on the basis that his actions, he says, they were lawful. He's, I'm a political figure. I'm accused of organizing fake electors, and but I was just trying to comply with the advice of counsel. So he used that magic language that he's going to go with an advice of counsel defense, and
I'm sure that's Ken Chesborough, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. And he'll also say, also that the RICO charge, he says that that's fatally defective for failing to establish a pattern of racketeering activity. And he also wants to strike certain phrases that he claims are conclusory in the indictment, so that Fani Willis can't argue them at the trial. Things like duly elected and qualified presidential electors. He doesn't like that. He doesn't like that terminology. He doesn't like the terminology false electoral college votes or lawful electoral votes. He wants to strike all of that. And so they're using the language a general demurrer, or it's demurrer, I'm not sure, and a special demurrer or demurrer, whatever the term is. It's not a New York term, so I had to look up what they mean, and it's basically a general demurrer in Georgia is an attack on the legality of the indictment, and a special demurrer is an attack on the form of the indictment. So those are the two legal motions that are happening tomorrow in Georgia.
Yeah, we'll cover all that. So, that's a good. I think we got a good overview. Get everybody up to speed in Georgia. I mean, it's worth a shot. Other co-defendants filed their demurrers and were successful in at least 6 of the 31 counts or so of the indictment to be dismissed. I made up my math. No, sorry, 41 minus 6. There's 35 left. So if I were, sure, why not try it? The judge seems to be concerned with certain pleading aspects or how the charging document was issued by the grand jury or that kind of thing. And we'll see what's left. I mean, I think, look, the RICO charge is not going to be dismissed by this judge. I would be beyond shocked if that were to happen, which is the engine and the heart of the indictment. The Criminal Racketeering Influence and Corrupt Organization Act. This is a racketeering case. If you were to ask somebody at bottom what this case is about, that's what it is about. It is the criminal conspiracy to try to overturn the will of the people and to interfere with it in various different ways as part of the conspiracy, whether it was in trying to coerce and strong arm election officials, elected officials, people that worked in the vote counting space, state investigators who were investigating, breaking into voting machines, illegally downloading votes, using fake electors, making phone calls, sending your chief of staff down to try to interfere with counting, making phone calls to the Secretary of State of Georgia to try to convince him to throw out legitimately cast ballots, using Lindsey Graham to do part of your bidding, using Rudy Giuliani, using Sidney Powell, using Ken Chesborough, using Jenna Ellis, and the list goes on. I mean, there's there were 16 co-conspirators at one time. And that's why this case is many tentacled. And it's something that Donald Trump has always been very, very concerned about, because he won't be able to pardon himself away from it if he were to get convicted. So time is on his side. When bad things happen, make them happen more slowly. And that's what we're watching. Well, there's an example of what we do on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time on this YouTube channel. We call it Legal AF. Yes, that cheekily named podcast that sits at the intersection of law and politics. We do it right here. Free subscribe. Help the MeidasTouch Network get to 3 million free subscribers. No outside investors. You are the network you've been looking for. And then you can follow us on hot takes like this one, on legal concepts, Karen Friedman, Agnifilo, and me on Wednesdays, Ben Meiselas and me on Saturdays. And if you know everything you need to know about Legal AF and you're already part of our audience, thank you, welcome. And from the bottom of our podcast, we thank you for being here. Take that clip, though, send it to friends and family and say, hey, you know that Legal AF show that I love? Here's an example of it. Maybe they'll join our audience too. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, then I'll just tell you straight. I'm Michael Popok. That was Legal AF. And we curate those top 5 stories at the intersection of law and politics. We do it in one place in the YouTube verse, and that's on the MeidasTouch Network. So until my next Legal AF, until my next podcast, this is Michael Popok signing off. Heary, heary, Legal AF Law Breakdown is now in session. Go beyond the headlines and get a deep dive into the important legal concepts you need to know and we discuss every day on Legal AF. Exclusive content you won't find anywhere else, all for the price of a couple of cups of coffee. Join us at patreon.com/legalaf. That's patreon.com/legalaf.